evening, folks, and welcome to the brand new podcast of Play by Play Podcast. I'm your host. Sorry about that. I'm your host, Carl. We're right here on the brand new AGT network. We're going to come to you weekly. Talk about on this. We're going to talk about football, baseball, hockey, basketball, soccer, tennis, golf. But if you want to talk about wrestling, combat sports, that's for our other page called The Main Event, which will be debuting later this month. So the reason we're here tonight, week one of the NFL season starts next week. So we're going to get right into things here. Thursday night, September 7th, is your you have Detroit versus Kansas City. That is at 8:20. A couple of interesting reports here from the injury report is what I'm looking at here. And I'm going to go over each team. But right now, the Detroit Lions have 5 players on the injured list. Now, it doesn't mean it's questionable. They are on the list or something else, okay? So let's start it off with Jamar Jefferson, running back. He's on the injured list. Jillian, I'm sorry if I'm going to pronounce the names wrong, but it's Jillian Akawara, linebacker. He's on the injured list. Emmanuel Mosley, cornerback. He's questionable. So that means he could actually play. So we don't know. We won't know until game time. Jameson Williams, running back. Reserve suspension. It all depends on when they want to release that. Last but not least, St. Brown. I am not going to pronounce the first name and mess that up. Wide receiver. He's questionable. So all this right there is a big factor for Detroit. Now going over to the Kansas City Chiefs side, you have 4 players that are on the injured list. That is Jerome Carvin, guard, injured reserve. You have Chris Jones, defensive tackle, reserve DNR. Again, this is the report that I'm looking at as of 5 minutes ago. You also have Kadarius Tooney, wide receiver, is questionable. And you have Lajaris Sneed, cornerback. He's also questionable. So this is all big names for them. They need both of them. But also, too, real quick, the line is at Kansas City by 6.5. So if you're a betting person, you might want to try that out. But also, too, going forward, getting back to Detroit for a minute there, you have 4 quarterbacks that are up on there. Their main one is Hightower. We got to see what he pulls out for this. Kansas City, you already know it's Patrick Mahomes. That's a giving on that one. So now let's get into Sunday's games. I have one host that I know will chastise me very well, but it's the Eagles versus the Patriots. And that's a 4:25 game. So I'm going to hear a lot of flack for that one. So this is interesting here. On the injury report, okay, for the Eagles, you only have 1 player. And that's Trey Sermon, running back. He's on the injury report. Don't know. But the Patriots have 4. Trey Flowers, defensive end. Don't know what they're going to do with him. Isaiah Bolden, cornerback. He's on the injured reserve. Connor McDermott, offside tackle, offensive tackle, injury report. Thornton, wide receiver, also on the injury report. And Devontae Parker, Wide receiver, questionable. Everybody that's on these are very important to the team. It doesn't matter whether they're the starter or is second string. Everybody on these teams are very, very valuable. Guaranteed going for the Patriots, it's either between Mac Jones or Brian Zappi. So we'll see him on that one. But with the Eagles, I don't know. They got a couple of good quarterbacks there, and it's going to be interesting. So getting into game, the second one that I'm going to talk about now is the Houston Texans versus the Ravens. This one is going to be a doozy of a game. Okay. All these teams are really, the draft this year was beneficial for everybody. The trading was beneficial. You know, everybody says, oh, there's losers, there's winners. No, everybody's a winner, no matter what. It all depends on how they do going forward after week one. Preseason, yeah, that's your training camp. That's when everybody's really seeing who they can cut down to the 53-man teams. But you also still have your practice squad. So if you're, God forbid, you're cut from the main roster, you can end up on the practice squad and spend the whole season down there. You might be brought up. You never know. So let's get into the injury report from Houston. They have 5 on theirs. It's Titus Howard, offensive tackle, questionable. Roy Lopez, defensive tackle, injury report. Keaton Sutherland, guard, injury report. Cameron Johnston, your punter, is questionable. And their center, one of their centers, Juice Shrugs, is on the injury report. That's not good when you have one of your centers or your punter. But Baltimore Ravens have 5 also. You have Mark Andrews, tight end, questionable. Tyler Huntley, quarterback, questionable. That's not good. Keaton Mitchell, running back, injury reserve. Demarion Williams, cornerback, injury reserve. And Malik Ham, linebacker, injury reserve. So, again, all this, again, like I keep saying, guys, please bear with me. I'm reading this as we were going along, but everybody's good. Now you have Bengals versus Browns. It's a good rivalry there between those two. So for the Cincinnati Bengals, you have Joseph Owasi, defensive end, doubtful. Marvell Tell the third, cornerback, injury reserve. You have a defensive tackle. Please, I'm going to try the last name. I'm not saying the first name. It's Pesafea Jr. Then you have Trayvon Williams, running back, questionable. Joe Burrow, questionable. It's your quarterback. That's your starting quarterback, and he's injured. He's questioned. That's not good. When your starting quarterback is, for week one, is questionable on an injury report, you never want that. But it also gives the chance for your second and third string to step up to the plate and see how they perform under major pressure. Not just in camp, but major pressure. Cleveland Browns have Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver, injury report. Alex Wright, defensive tackle, questionable. Jordan Kanzaski, linebacker, injury report. So the next one we're going to is Tampa Bay versus Minnesota. And Tampa Bay has 4. Don Gardner, cornerback. Derek Whitehead, safety. Dominique, Daphne, tight end. Those three are injury report or injury reserve. Mike Evans, wide receiver, is questioned. We could hope that he comes and plays on the first game. Minnesota Vikings, Chris Reed, guard, NFI reserve. Keen Nawagawi, running back, injury reserve. TJ Hookerson, tight end, questionable. Abraham, whatever the linebackers, injury reserve. And Tay Gavin, cornerback, injury reserve. But, folks, real quick, just looking at all these reports here, everybody's really valuable here. So I'm just going to give you the next game. It's the Titans versus Saints. I'm going to go back for a minute here. I'm going to start over and give you who I think might win the game. So going back to Thursday's game, the Lions over the Chiefs, Lions versus Chiefs, be honest with you, I'm going to go with an underdog here. I'm going to go with the Lions. Eagles and Patriots, I'm sorry, but I'm going with the Patriots on this one. You got Texans versus Ravens. Be honest with you, that's going to be a tough one. So I think it's going to be Texans. Then you have the Bengals versus Browns. Browns are hungry. They are very hungry. Buccaneers versus Vikings. You know what? I'm going to go with the Vikings on this one. Titans versus Saints. Titans. Panthers versus Falcons. I got a funny feeling the Panthers are going to pull this one out. Jaguars versus Colts. That's going to be a good one, and I'm going to go with Colts on this one. Then you have the 49ers versus Steelers. I'm picking the 49ers. Then you have Cardinals versus Commanders. I'm going to go with Washington on this. Raiders versus the Broncos. Going to go with the Broncos. Dolphins versus Chargers. Going with Chargers. Packers versus Bears. Now, this is the interesting key game. One of two games this weekend coming up for week 1 that I want to see. I'm going to go with Bears, but I want to see how Green Bay plays that their starting quarterback is no longer there. I won't get into that game in a little bit. Then you have the Rams versus Seahawks. I'm going to go with Seahawks. Cowboys versus Giants. You know what? I'm going to piss off a lot of Giants here, and I'm going with Cowboys. Then your Monday night game, which falls on 9/11. And that's the Bills versus the Jets. On the Bills side, you had the player from last year that was taken out, unfortunately, due to a major injury. And he's not even listed in their injury report. Okay? But the Jets pulled off an amazing trade for Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers just to see how he plays. Maybe he might bring that team around. Who knows? But folks, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Because you know what? Again, it's my picks. You can tell me your picks stink, whatever. But now, let's get into a little bit of baseball. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the news if my phone would upload. But we're coming into the end of the regular season, getting ready to start the playoffs. It's everybody's choice. So hopefully this will work. And we might actually have a guest coming on tonight. Don't know yet, but we'll see. Baseball, it's very different. It's You could have as many wins and losses, and you still miss out on the chance. You could be down by 2 games, but you only needed to win 1 and you lose it. You don't make it, guess what? You're out of the playoffs. And a lot of teams, that's their problem, is they struggle so much, or they start off the season hot. You can't do that. It's like Little League, okay? You don't always start off hot. You play every game as if it's a championship, okay? But the way you do it is the more you play, the better you're going to become. You know where your mistakes are. You work on that. That's what days off mean. You just work on it. But turn around and you want to make corrections so that you guys can end up in the playoffs. So, again, I'm going to go into the baseball news here if it will load up for me. But again, folks, before this thing opens up again, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the bell icon. Get the notifications for when we go live with any of our contents. Follow us on Facebook, the AGT Network. We have 2. We have a fan page and we have a profile page. And we also have the Play-by-Play podcast. It's got a fan page. Follow it. Please, we need all the support. So now we're going to go into the baseball, finally, I think. But again, folks, just please help us out and let us know that this is what you see coming through the pipelines. If there's something you want to talk to us about, hit us up. We have all the social medias out there. The only thing we don't have right now is Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We don't have any of that yet, but we do have Facebook. We also have an email. Hit us up and we'll discuss it. Follow us on our show. Comment. Please, we would love that. And it's not loading. Let's see, is Anna and Shell going to load for me? But unfortunately, none of these are loading for me right now. So, folks, if you guys... Here, I'll just go over some of the MLB scores right now, which I didn't want to do, but I have no choice. Definitely be better prepared. We will be going live every Sunday night. Most likely it's going to be 7 o'clock or 7:30, right up until the start of the Sunday night game. And it's not loading for me. Here we go. Baseball. Okay. We're going to load up. These are your scores for today. Okay. Boston Red Sox versus Kansas City Royals. Boston won 7-3. Right now, it's the middle of the 9th. It's the Blue Jays versus Rockies. 7-5 Blue Jays. You also have bottom of the 9th. 2 on, 1 out. You have the Rays versus Guardians. 6-2 in Rays' favor. Bottom of the 1st. You had the Yankees at the Astros. Nobody out. That's going to be a tough game. It's a Sunday night game on ESPN right now. But you also have the Cubs versus Reds. With the Cubs winning 15-7. Yikes. That's a big difference. Then you have the Phillies versus the Brewers, with the Phillies winning 4-2. Marlins versus Nationals 6-4, with the Marlins winning 6-4. Then you have the Mariners versus the Mets, with the Mets winning 6-3. Then you have White Sox versus Tigers, with the Tigers winning 3-2. You also have Cardinals versus Pirates, with the Cardinals winning 6-4. Rangers versus Twins, with the Rangers winning 6-5. The Athletics versus the Angels. Athletics won 10-6. Dodgers versus Braves, with the Dodgers winning 3-1. Orioles versus Diamondbacks. The score was 8-5. Orioles over the Diamondbacks. And then you have Giants versus Padres, with the Padres winning 4-0. Let me see something here. Standings. This is the current standings right now. League. Well, actually, let's go to the wild card here. Okay. Teams already eliminated from playoff contentions, unfortunately, are Oakland and Kansas City. But the other ones is in the American League. You have Tampa Bay, Houston, Texas, Toronto, Boston, Yankees, Cleveland, Los Angeles Angels, Detroit, and Chicago White Sox. That's the American League. That's all who's fighting. There is nobody eliminated from the National League yet. And it goes Phillies, Cubs, Marlins, San Francisco, Arizona, Cincinnati, San Diego, New York Mets, Pittsburgh, Washington, St. Louis, and Colorado. That is who is right now the way they're looking at it. Okay? In each division, I'm going to go division-wise here. American League. The East, I'm going to give everybody just the top 2 teams in each division. For the East, the American League East, it's Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Nobody ever expected Baltimore and Tampa Bay to be in first and second. It's always usually Boston and Yankees. Yankees are in dead last and 18 games back in the American League East. Central Division, you have the Minnesota Twins and Cleveland Guardians are 1-2. Kansas City Royals have been eliminated already from the playoff for 10. They are 29 and a half games back. That's something that needs to be done over there in that division. And then the American League West. You have Seattle and Houston, 1-2. Oakland Athletics, eliminated from playoff. They're 35 and a half games back. Why are they 35 and a half games back? What's going on? Are the players not want to play anymore? This is something that management needs to, upper management, not coaches, but your owner, the president of baseball operations, all of them need to sit there and go, okay, if we're 35 games back, what's going on with the team? Are the players unhappy with somebody that they just don't want to play? They give up? That's horrible. So now we go to the National League. National League East, first and second place is Atlanta and Phillies. Then you have the Central. It's the Milwaukee Brewers and Chicago Cubs are 1-2. The West is the LA Dodgers and San Francisco Giants. Guys, that's great. The other teams need to start playing. But then also, too, so now we're going to get into the NHL a little bit. My thing is with baseball is it's always do or die. Okay? You got to play like it's your last game, and you're going to win. Yes, you might not win, But you can't just give up. And that's what the two teams that are eliminated already feel that they've given up. That's how I look at it. They've given up. Okay? And that's wrong. I'm going to give a little bit of NHL news here as soon as I can figure this out a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to go into some not bad news, but not good news either. We actually have a veteran retiring because of an injury. Carl Hagelin has decided to retire from the NHL at the age of 35, citing an eye injury that has kept him out of the game for nearly a year and a half. He was playing during a practice with the Washington Capitals and took an eye to the face. He got hit with a stick. And he underwent surgery. That unfortunately he had to decide to call it quits. I mean, 35 years old is still a lot, but at least he's spending more time with the family. And he was a 6th-round pick of the New York Rangers in 2007. So he's played from 2007 up to now. So I feel bad for the guy. You never want to see a player retire because of injury. You want them to go out career long, healthy, but that's not good. And then let's go to the NBA. Let's go to the NBA news real quick and see if there's anything here. For your folks that are NBA faithful, you remember there was the investigation. That his social media activity, Mr. Eric Lewis, well, he decided to retire, so the NBA is canceling their investigation into this gentleman due to the fact that he effective immediately, he was retiring. So if that's the case, what I would have done if I was the NBA, I wouldn't have canceled it. I would have turned around and still did the investigation like you should. But just because he retired, it should go into his file. Anybody that goes under investigation, it should go into their file. So that's on that. Let's see if anything is under the Olympics. There's nothing there with the Olympics, but let's go to men's tennis. Because I know right now, I believe the U.S. Open is still going on. And it's right here in Flushing, New York, I believe. Don't quote me on that. No, not coming up. Let's see if golf comes up. Again, folks, this is new for us, so all right, none of this is working. But again, folks, it's our first night, and I will definitely be better prepared next week. We should actually have a a guest with us next week, possibly. Well, a guest host. But for right now, I like to just say, keep your heads up. We're here for everybody. Love your loved ones. And you know what? We'll catch you on the flip side. See you next week.